Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Friday. How is everyone doing? Retail sales, more Fed speak. Coming up, we got consumer sentiment preliminary. So, what is going on? Let's see who's here. Good morning, Mike. We had bank earnings too. Davy C is up. City is up. Lower EPS and higher revenue. I think they beat both. I'll have to double check that. But Wells, I know, missed. BlackRock missed. Uh, some of the stuff. UNH is up. They beat. So good morning, Patrick. What a BS move, PM. What was the BS move? Bad news and market run up big. The market wants to go up right now. So you got to trade with it. Cycles are at the bottom. We'll review it. There's nice momentum bars after the retail sales. Bostic talking, and he hasn't done anything to cool it off. As good as bad good. We got to prepare though for a potential reversal if Michigan's sentiment is really bad. But good morning, Josh. We'll see. Fed up with the Fed and they BS spew. Well, as Bostic just said, Fed's current approach has the highest likelihood of success. Oh boy, good morning, Rings of Fall. As opposed to I don't know what else because what other approach are they going to take? Good news is good news. Yeah, again, it can shift on any day, George, because good news is good news. Just learn to just trade the patterns. Do they always work 100%? No, but you got to learn to trade the patterns and put the odds in your favor. And we can't decipher everything. If you know when good news is going to be good news and bad news is going to be good news and bad news is going to be bad news, I don't know. Yo, Lauren. Good morning, Options 22. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Sashi. Well, everybody is here. By the way, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, and hitting the like button. I need some more comments after this video is over, so please come back and do that. Not been paying attention to that the last couple days, but we really need to keep this thing growing. What patterns, Coco? I talk about patterns all the time. Where are you, Christoph? Could somebody enlighten Coco with the patterns? There are tons of patterns. So, what do you mean there's no patterns? What do you call a double bottom, double top? What do you call a head and shoulders? What do you call a percent beat buy? What do you call a close above the 62.5? Those are patterns. No, they're patterns. 720 clear? Are we follow the patterns? See, you got to follow the patterns. Looks like bad news is good news, good news is good news, so all is well. Everything is well, by the way. Retail sales came in slightly better than expected. This is not an inflation-adjusted figure, so I'm actually not that bullish on it. It did beat the forecast, though. But we'll see. I mean, running 9.1 inflation and your retail sales only up 1% month over month. Not a big deal, but the market liked it. Empire State Manufacturing bouncing back from contraction. That's another thing. We got industrial production coming out in about 8 minutes. Let's see how that is. And then the big one is a preliminary consumer sentiment. Final is next Friday, but preliminary is going to be big with inflation expectations. So that's the next big thing we could get a potential reversal off of. Everything green this morning, pretty much. Even some of the banks are bouncing back. Citi, big green. Remember, it's just buy everything again. Oil's up big, have inverse head and shoulder pattern on that. So it's just going to be one of those. There's UNH. You see that's up. They did beat. We're going to be in 50-50 split still between the 75 to 100 basis points, still in negative gamma. Not major negative gamma, but enough that it can really juice things higher. We had, again, Wells Fargo, Citibank, United Health Group, BlackRock. Did not check on some of these minor ones. I'll have to look at those after the open. But we're in rally mode. You can see here. Let's just start with the NASDAQ today. NASDAQ, this had to be, I was watching for the 4-hour close overnight. Did not get that 4-hour close overnight. Then we got the momentum bars. Momentum bars. So this is... Now, this can be played on a pullback, and then if you get a reversal move at 9 and it closes back below, it would be off the table. But this had to be played now on momentum bar breakout with that stuff, and I'd still be careful if we do get that reversal 9 a.m. But my minor target we're just bounced off of is at 62.5. Why was that a minor target? That's from these the highs back on the 8th to the lows on the 13th. The 62.5, remember, we're back and we were in but 50 to 62. We had a little reversal move, testing the key level and then rocketing off of it. My next major targets, and these aren't just for today in case it does fizzle out, as long as this confirms on the 4-hour bar basis, that's why I'm paying attention, which is at 9 a.m. exactly when consumer sentiment comes out, but there's 50 minutes to go. If that does trigger, then for next week, if it doesn't hit today, would be 12,028, and then we get that close above that 62.5. Then it favors a return to 12,117 to 12,200 area. If you see here, cycles at the bottom on the daily turning up, and remember on the weekly still at the top and not yet rolling over, so we could get another push higher going into next week. And I'll be paying a close attention with this double as long as it confirms on the 4-hour. Really, and we close above that 62.5. I'm really focused on hitting that 50-day exponential with these prior high area before the next rollover move. S&P, again, you get the momentum bars right there, the little pausing bar and the move higher. Right now, it's trading back above this 50% level. And the levels I'm using there were the highs back on, again, the 8th to the lows on the 14th in the S&P. This is the key reversal zone. Bumping that up just off the 1 hour. So we need a break. I'm watching now. Major support's coming back at 38.11. Let me mark that off. If we do pull back, that's the key area I'm watching for major support. Minor support would be about 38.23. On a push higher, you're at key resistance right here, and you're getting the pullback move, but it breaks above there, especially at 9. Then I'm playing for 38.47 to 62.5, and I'll be watching for the close above that by the end of the day. And then I'm just going to use the next harmonic levels higher, 38.72, then 38.97. If we do pull back up, 38.11 is a very key area that doesn't want, if it breaks below that, then I'm not as bullish for the continuation move. Let's see. Market makers playing with us. I don't know what you mean market makers are playing with us. Market makers are there to make a market. Google split today. Pins up pre-market. It's going to be, option. Yep. Looking for pinning action. It's minor today. I mean, we can play the minor pinning action. If you did get a major rally, you could get that pin back to 3,800. I'll be watching that 3,850 area on a continued rally. It's also at the 62.5. For the NASDAQ, again, this isn't as big an option expiration. So, going to key off that 11,900 if it stalls out there, and then go with the 11,950. Then really, if we get a rally on the 12,000. Dow, again, stalling out this 50%, but Dow, pretty big move this morning. So pullback areas for the Dow. There isn't much. It's trading against this minor support shelf right here. If it did drop below, next major support isn't back till 30,775. So I'd have to use some minor retracement levels. And that would be 30,775 to about 30,720. On another push up above 31,000, then my next major target is this 31,200, 31,203 area. Russell, I gotta get to crude because there's some nice potential setups with this stalling out right now. Let me just bump up this level right here. Key support coming in about 717. We get above 725, especially the opening print. Then my next target is 1736. Again, everything seems now. We have cycles in the bottom on everything that's turning up now. So as long as we sustain this through the open and through 9 a.m., I got to play the bullish case and everything. DAX, by the way, has this potential double bottom. And if the DAX can really get a push higher and close above yesterday's high. It's also a percent B front run buy. Cycle's not at the bottom, so we might have to wait till Monday to really get the front run pattern in the DAX. Crude, this can be traded. You can see it here on that 4-hour basis very nicely as inverse head and shoulders. So here's the targets on that. 128, 102.02, 103.75, and it's reversing this move, so it is completely valid. Stop level, see on crude on the 4-hour cycles at the top, so this might not get a ton of follow through until next week or Sunday, but cycles at the bottom on the daily, and this would be, it's a little lower probability since it's against the daily rotation zone, but if it can get through to this first target, which is the stop raise, then we could easily take this the other side of the rotation zone. And as I mentioned, that's the play I'm watching for. Let's see who. Hey, Andrea, welcome, welcome, welcome. Would you consider that high on the ES a 3x top or a 2x top? Right now, this on the daily, this is one top, this is another top, but it's not a double top pattern. We're now in essentially a horizontal consolidation pattern, and remember, a triple top is only a minor push higher, and again on the S&P, if we do break and follow through and get to this close above the 62.5, then the targets is this high area 87.5 to the 100. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it try to ding the 50 EMA before another rollover play with cycles at the bottom. We could have a little room to run next week, especially even with the banks that's shrugging off some bad earnings. It's shrugging off bad news. So when you have that with cycles at the bottom, I got to go with the probabilities. So that's a good question. It's a 2x top based off the daily. You are welcome. Again, thank you for being here. I hope you'll join us more often on a regular basis. You want the Q's targets? The Q's targets, again, Q's. This is a double bottom on the Q's. Pre-markets, it's above there. So even on a pullback, again, you get the close above 288. What's the exact number? 288.06. It's a trigger double on the 4-hour. Right now, so remember, on a pullback level, the key area I don't want to break below if you're playing for a pullback would be about 287 with the candle bodies in front of here. So on a pullback, this is the area I'm watching. Now, the double is not invalidated. I'm going to assume it triggers. All right, I'm assuming this double is going to trigger because of where we're trading pre-market. So the double is not invalidated on a closing basis until 282.90 that's on a 4-hour closing basis, or a intraday spike basis to about 281.90. So those are the stops you have to use if you're playing this for the bigger move. And again, assuming it does trigger, 292 first target, 294 second target. And those are the first major two I'm focusing on. And then I would focus on this final target, 296, if we do get the close above the 62.5 at 290.40 roughly. So there's my upside and my downside. And again, if we pull back with, if you get that pullback at 9 a.m. or something, this is the key pullback zone to watch for it. Also, you see on the 4-hour cycles turning up on the Qs. On the daily, they're trying to turn up on the Qs, and they probably will with a stronger close today. And at the weekly, they are at the top, but not any rollover play yet. Those are all those levels. There you go. Options 22. Tesla pre-market, even, see, this is where, Tesla even up pre-market, Karpathy leaving. The company, he's been on sabbatical, not a big surprise, but going to be pre-market. If the NASDAQ stays stronger, then I'm just going to be watching for a key. You have this key gap down open with the high from yesterday. So that's my first target. I'll be watching 726 and then the 730 harmonic to about 733, and I'll fine tune that with some intraday harmonics. And then my major top and error is about 747 to 751. Again, we have not got the close back below 62.5, so that's my key support area, 688. All right, we got the manufacturing numbers out, so let's peek at those. Here we go. Industrial production, a miss. Down from previous year over year. Capacity utilization, slight pullback there. And, yep, a miss in manufacturing, month over month. Contraction on year over year. So industrial is contracting. Let's just peek back at the markets to see if they're shrugging off that news. Not much of a reaction based off of that, so I'll still be watching for a rotation up play going into the open. Good morning, John. You want Bitcoin? Because we're going into a rally. Now remember, Celsius declared bankruptcy. The risk is still major to the downside, but we have held this channel. We tried to break below it right here. Got that little close below it, but if the risk assets with cycles turning up stays on, I'm going to watch. We have not closed above this confirmed double. Did this invalidate it with a triple? Let me just check something. I need to double check something. I forgot to look at this. No, this is not invalidated with a triple. So if you're going to be all short-term bullish in here, you need a close above 21,866. Would not be surprised to see it retest over the next day about 21,600. That's pretty substantial resistance right there, and that wouldn't even trigger the double. But this, in order for this double to trigger, it has to be done on a closing basis. And remember, long term still incredibly bearish, and that doesn't even take us. If that double triggers, you really have to pay attention to this first target with the declining weekly rotation zone, and that first target is about 23,500. Where else do we sit? Notes. Let me get to notes real quick again. We have, for any breakdown play, it's still trying to form a sloppy shoulder, a sloppy right side shoulder. My breakout play is above 118.31. Breakdown play, which doesn't invalidate anything, is below 118.04, then to test the 117.17. So that's what I'm watching. Dollar index. I was going to talk about if it breaks below about 108.05 and then 108, we're trading 107.90. So I'm watching for the pullback to the daily rotation zone. Let's see where we sit. Euro, trying to put in this bottoming pattern right here. So again, you start getting, let me just see here. This is trying to work off this oversold condition. Start getting a little more bullish above 101.20 roughly. 101.20 for a return into the daily rotation zone, with cycles turning up and weeklies looks to be bottoming. So we could get into a position where we could make at least a sideways with an upwards bias move to get out of this very oversold condition, especially with cycles. Pay attention to cycles on the weekly, because then you could actually turn into a couple week run higher. But my first area I will be watching on a closing basis is to see if it can close into this daily rotation zone. Yen, by the way, stalling out at the next harmonic area. So if we pull back, 138 is 137.70, 137.80 to 138 is key support. But on a next push higher, 140 area, 140.60 to be exact. VIX, I don't have the exact number. Again, this is delayed, but this is indicative. If somebody could punch in the VIX from their trading platform real time, can't get real time on this, as I said before, but this is a pretty sustaining bullish pattern unless we really start breaking back above about 26.10, 26.15. I'll stay in bullish mode and watch for the 26.65 area for support. VIX, thank you, Davey, 25.41 pre. So it's still it's, you know, where are we sitting here? 25.40. So we're right here. So even if you get the slight bounce or a slight pullback in the open, pay attention to about 26, 26.10. If Celsius did bankruptcy and BTC not affected by it, do you think it's the same if Voyager files for bankruptcy also? That's going to be another. I think we're going to see a lot of ripple effects from the bankruptcies. But remember, that's why longer term bearish, especially with all the patterns that have triggered. But short term, we're still playing. If the Nasdaq rallies, remember it's very highly correlated with the risk, I'll call it the risk on assets, and with cycles at the bottom, you could see a pop, but I would not get overly bullish until you get that close. And this would be minorly bullish, that close on the daily for that pattern above the key levels I listed. Where are we sitting now? I think that's about it that I wanted to touch on. Oh, good. Tom, you're back. All-time high and the spider's coming. I want to see when we break to new lows what you're going to say then, Tom. There's not a lot of funds buying stuff up. There's a lot of short-term plays. It's not long-term bullish. Not nice looking very early potential double bottom on FLX for the financial rebound. XLF on the, yeah, it's still playable on the weekly, but that's a long way off from triggering. And you're against that weekly 200. So I'll be watching more so for the a little bounce up play and then a rollover. Key resistance is coming in roughly 31.20 to about 31.32. I'm more focused on another rollover play in XLF once we get that higher price action. All right. I don't, I think it would be gone. Gone. So, all right, we're getting the rotation up, going in 4 minutes to the open, so I'm wrapping this up again. Thank you for being here. Even, GM and NVIDIA. Well, remember, we got that gosh darn chips bill, and Trade and Nancy disclosed that position. It's all going to hinge off what they do with that chips bill now, but here's your pattern. Let's see if that looks like that pulled back enough. So we finally get, yep. So here's the only play I have: longer term, shorter term, pre-market. You can get there's no front run with cycles turning up. The key area I'd be watching on a breakout play for NVIDIA higher today with key resistance coming in about 158.73. So a breakout play on the open as long as NASDAQ holds up. And then your area you're watching is 160.37 on a closing basis, on a daily closing basis, because then your target's 168.24 and 172. With the declining 50, the final target is lower probability. And remember, longer term still in bearish mode, but this would give you the pop into the weekly rotation zone. But if you get the bad news that bill's off the table or something's collapsing with it, although you got the Pelosi player with you to front run the NVIDIA play. And then GM, then I got to wrap this up. GM. Let's just see. You still have an unfilled gap here today. Pre-market 32.13, 31.90. So again, you rally up. You got the 32.30 gap fill play. Cycles are mixed on that. The real bullish thing gets if you get a close above 33.13, 34.53, and 35.23, roughly coming in with that 50. So it's just barely missing, but I'd still use that with the 50 there as a target. You are welcome. You are welcome. Thank you, everyone. I got to prep for the open now. Thank you for being here. Please come back and leave some comments, and I'll be back this afternoon unless something major happens and we get a major reversal into lunch. Bye for now.